In 1982, a form of optical media storage called the compact disc made its market debut. Developed in tandem by Sony and Philips, it would revolutionize the way we listen to music and store data. In 1990, the release of the turbrografx-cd would finally introduce CD-based entertainment to the North American home console market. This gave game developers a huge increase in storage space to use in their development, and a reasonably priced way to deliver full motion video along with CD quality audio. This was a huge step forward, allowing a slew of amazing games that were only possible thanks to the CD's massive storage capacity and cheap production cost. As years passed on, reports started to surface about a longevity issue that was causing loss of data stored on these discs. This is Retro Impressions, and we are covering disk rot. In order to truly understand disk rot, we need to discuss how optical media discs are made. All DVDs, CDs, and other optical media have a basic common construction. From the bottom up, there is a polycarbonate plastic layer. No data is stored there. This is just a protective layer. Next is the metal reflective data layer. This is nearly always aluminum based and is where the information is stored. On a CD, it's near the top of the disc, and on DVDs, this layer is about in the center of the disc. Next, exclusive to DVDs, is an adhesion layer followed by a polycarbonate plastic layer on top. For CDs, there is a thin protective lacquer layer. Lastly, the printed surface containing the label is on top of the disc. So what is disk rot? It's a physical or chemical deterioration of the metallic reflective data layer. It's nearly always caused by a failure in the protective layer, allowing the outer atmosphere to interact with and decay the data layer. It's important to mention at this point that there is no repairing disk rot. Once it happens, it's permanent. Disk rot isn't something that happens overnight. It has nothing to do with the bottom of the disk being scratched, and it's not the same as someone damaging the data layer with a deep scratch. In fact, disk rot is not damage that can easily be duplicated by humans. Although the way we handle disk can be a factor in damage that will eventually occur, as humans, we are not the primary cause. Disk rot can even occur with a new unopened disk. It can be hard to spot on some disks as the damage may only be a small pin-sized hole. It can also appear as large missing chunks of the reflective data layer, or a discoloration giving the reflective side of the disk the appearance of being stained. So what does this mean for someone who's playing a game on a rotted disk? Well, it means you could experience issues. They could be anything from bad audio or video to the game crashing at any point and becoming unplayable. Imagine playing through 20 to 30 hours of a game, only to have it lock up and become unplayable at the end. Well, if you have a rotted disk, it's a real possibility, and it has in fact happened to me. This is something you should be aware of when you're buying and selling games. It's more common than you might think, and it can be impossible to spot if you're not looking for it. I collect games for a lot of systems, and there is one in particular that suffers from disk rot far in excess of all other systems. In fact, it accounts for 90% of all games that I have or that I have seen in the wild with disk rot. That console? The Gamecube. Now, this is just my personal experience, but it's become so bad that I wouldn't consider purchasing Gamecube disc. I can't verify the integrity of myself. Of all the games on the Gamecube, there is one game in particular that is nearly impossible to find without disk rot, or some sort of disk layer separation that will eventually lead to rot. The game is Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. I've been looking for a clean copy of this game for 4 years now to replace my own damaged copy, and have only found rotted disc. Disc 1 in particular is so bad, you can see the physical deterioration without the assistance of any lights on multiple eBay listings being passed off as good copies. Okay, so they're out there. And if you have a sizable disc collection, you more than likely haven't dodged this bullet. So here are my tips to avoid this in the future as you continue to add games to your collection. If you can physically inspect the disc, use a light to illuminate it. I recommend carrying a small flashlight with you, or using the light on your phone if that's an option. I personally like to illuminate from the bottom side of the disc while inspecting from the label side first, is I find it's easier to spot damage this way. Look for pinholes or missing material in the reflective layer. My advice is if there's damage, don't buy the disc. Asking online sellers to inspect the disc for you isn't enough to guarantee you will avoid buying a rotted disc. If you're really interested in a game, have the seller illuminate the disc while taking pictures of both sides and explain what you're looking for. Just keep in mind that pictures can be deceptive, video of the game working isn't proof that the disc isn't damaged, and a lot of times, photos won't do the disc justice when damage is minor. The last thing you can do is use a computer program to test the integrity of the files on the disc. If you're someone who is unsure if your disc is affected, a program designed to check the integrity of the files will give you a definitive answer. So when this video is done, you start looking over your collection and you find you have rotted disc. What do? Well, it's not necessarily time to chuck them. There are great odds that any older game will just have a glitchy audio or video track and still be fully playable. It's also possible that the rot is outside the area where critical data is stored. If the damage is part of the game code, however, there isn't much you can do. Although you can't repair a rotted disc, you can take steps to ensure you're not contributing to the factors that increase the odds of it happening to your disc collection. Keep your discs stored in a cool, dark, and dry location. Always handle them from the outside edge and the center hole, and store them in a jewel case rather than a sleeve system. I hope you found this information helpful and informative. Thanks for watching the video. Feel free to leave a positive or negative comment below letting me know your thoughts. I should have the next retro impressions and review video up in about a week, so click the subscribe button if you enjoyed what you've seen, and we'll see you again. Until next time, this has been Retro Impressions.